ODM leader Raila Odinga now accuses President Kenyatta of being behind Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho's latest troubles. The Mombasa governor is required today to answer police summons and record a statement on his academic certificates after the National Examination Body disowned his KCSE results slip as a forgery. President Kenyatta and Governor Joho have deferred publicly, and now Odinga says the president's harassment of Joho amounts to abuse of power, and that is a sufficient ground for impeachment. He spoke during a meeting of the a meeting at Orange House, I should say.
Sasa ni wakimbia hawa jamaa wanajaribu sana kusumbua na kuweka kwa shida moja wa wanajeshi wetu ambaye anaitwa Ali Hassan Joho. Mambo mingi zaidi. Wiki jana account za Joho zote zilikuwa frozen. Ati Kenya Revenue Authority imeandika barua kwa benki ati fungeni account ya Joho yote. Ati tunafanya uchunguzi. Mara nyingine walisema Joho anauza dawa ya kulevya. Joho ameenda Marekani huko. Kama angekuwa yeye anapeleka dawa ya kulevya, si angeshika huko. Si ameenda amerudi. Sasa Joho ame-qualify certificate. Uhuru walisema ati mimi utanisikia. Sasa Uhuru anatumia serikali. Anatumia uwezo wake kama rais wa Kenya kwa njia mbaya. He's abusing the powers of the president.
And we have guests, of course, in the studio with us. We had introduced to you earlier Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, who is a conflict resolution and national security analyst. Also, we do have with us Dr. Machira, is a criminologist from Egerton University. We have with us as well Captain Wanderi, an advocate of the High Court and also a national security analyst. Also, we have with us Vice Chancellor of KCSE University, an expert on defense and foreign policy. This is Professor Noah Midamba. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Good morning.
All right, let's just drill deeper to this particular story of Joho, just briefly. I'd really love to hear, especially from the academic world, what does it really portend for our leaders going forth, yes, that we have this particular caliber of leaders, they're saying this particular matter is being politicized. Does it really matter, your credentials anymore, if you're to run for public office? We should look at this issue from a three-way standpoint. One is the issue of the national value, which is anyone from Chapter 6 to the national value policy, which I had the chance to write. Anyone running for public office must hold the highest value there is. There should not be any shortcut at all from that standpoint. We must not, Debarl, use politics to judge one person. And here's what I'm saying. Not every single person, not every single Kenyan is an A student. You can be born in Pokot, you can be born in Nairobi, you can go to school anywhere in the world, and you find students who really struggle at the early age for several reasons. One is the environment in which they are born. Two, they struggle because of economic reasons, but eventually they become president of any country. You can see example after that. Now, thirdly, there is no shortcut to higher academy. You cannot fake your way. You cannot buy your way. You must earn it. And therefore, I'm not sure what is behind the scene. I don't have all the information necessary. But did Joho get a D- and then eventually end up with a college degree? That is possible. Or did he lie about it? That is the question that must be judged from a value standpoint and from an academic standpoint.
All right. So did he go through the rigors and the rigmarole of actually acquiring a degree? If he got a D-, he went maybe to certificate, you know, and a diploma, and maybe a postgraduate diploma as well to degree where he is right now, or he did not. So the question they're asking, especially the ODM leaders, is, first of all, why is this matter being brought to the fore right now? This was a very, you know, confidential affair between Joho and the DCI. So is it being politicized? And the letter that came also to the public domain is dated back way in January. So why now? Should you now be releasing this particular letter?
I think, Debarl, first things, Joho is not a bright person. That is very apparent from the way he has flip-flopped on this matter. Mm-hmm. Last year, there was a query as to how he acquired his degree, once again. And that was the first insinuation that Joho did not qualify for admission to any of the local or in the regional universities. Mm-hmm. And what did Joho do? Because it is in the media, it was covered by part of one of your newspapers, that Joho actually denied and went on record and saying he did not score a D-. Mm-hmm. And that is, in fact, what he did is, in fact, restate the qualifications he had in the certificate that is at the issue, the one he claims to have scored a C+. And that is on the very basis that he was admitted to the University of Nairobi to study Bachelor of Commerce, then thereafter transferred the credits to Kampala International University, mm-hmm. where he completed his studies. But
did he complete it in Kampala,
yes, in Kampala University,
or is at Gresat? Or
no, Gresat is another course.
Is another course.
Is another course altogether.
Okay.
So what has happened along the way is that you see, this became a matter of the inquiry, the police inquiry, the issue of his certificate. Mm-hmm. And therefore, as you say, it ought to have been a matter between a person who is a complainant, mm-hmm. and a suspect, and the DCI. Mm-hmm. That is where it should have been. And you see now, once there is a question and there is a note from the relevant body, mm-hmm. KNEC, which is a body mandated by law to state what somebody scored, Joho then flip-flops and actually agrees then again he puts it in public, he scored a D-.
And he's really proud of it.
And he's really proud of it. And which is not a problem, as Professor is saying, you can score a D-. But the problem now for Governor Joho is the fact that he is a public officer. He is a state officer holding a public office and subject to the provisions of the Leadership and Integrity Act, as well as provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. I would dare him that anybody can now move to court, even to the highest court, mm-hmm. and Joho will be declared unfit to hold public office, because he has now publicly on 2 occasions contradicted himself on this issue. Mm-hmm. So if a person were to seriously then move and challenge first his qualification as a degree, mm-hmm. Then secondly his flip-flop and the public statements on this, then he could be caught. But you asked a question whether he studied from a certificate, a diploma, and then to a degree. It is possible, but unfortunately, Governor Joho did not even qualify for admission to diploma. He only qualified for admission to certificate. And the guidelines are clear. If you have E and D-, you don't qualify. You can only do a certificate course. That's the end of it. But if you have a grade D+, you can start with a certificate. Okay? But absolutely, for those with people with above D+, most of the time, some colleges admit them directly for abridged courses for diploma. But Governor Joho's score in mathematics alone, he has not even done an abridging course. So they have, in terms, if you were to look at the Commission of Higher Education Act, there are obviously serious flaws there. And when you get the universities defending him, the university senate, in any senate, which, and Professor knows that, has to defend any paper they issue. And there is no vice chancellor who signs a paper which he cannot defend. The other day, the vice chancellor of the University of Nairobi took 2 weeks to sign a 2-week certificate for people who are studying forensic science somewhere, because he said, because of the issues that are being raised and I'm training people who are forensic investigators, I must personally approve and see that they actually qualified. And he relies on his Senate. And these bodies are created creatures of law. And that is the dilemma that Governor Joho has to face.
And this is the road that we are seeing also in public and private universities as well, because we understand, and of course, Prof, you're here last week, we were discussing about this, the state of universities education in Kenya, and in light of the report that is actually maybe coming out in 2 weeks' time, that was commissioned by the minister himself, Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, giving that particular mandate to Commission for University Education. And of course, we have very appalling results from that. One of them is that we have so many degrees, executive degrees, which are awash in the industry right now, and their credibility, some of them are questionable. Let's hear from Dr. Mustafa on this.
Debarl, sorry, I was reading here, Kenyan doctors killed in raid on Libya, ISIS base. They must have scored A's, these doctors, I'm sure.
This is on the front page of a Daily Nation.
That's right. They must have scored straight A's. I'd like us to focus more on this. Just in one sentence about this whole saga on Joho, and it's political, and I wouldn't want to comment much on this, is that it's just telling of the circus of what our education sector has become. But I think I would like us to focus more on some of these straight A's that are causing a lot of trouble to this country.
All right.
Posing as national security threats.
Okay.
We may go
this
in that direction.
Yeah, we will go.
But we have a problem. We have a problem with some of these degrees in the universities today.
Yes.
We would like to know how this person with a D minus, how he overcame this. Did he do bridging courses, or did he just go through someone in the university?
Yes. Because
there are some people in the university who actually assist some of these D minus people to get certificates and eventually to get diplomas and degrees.
Yes.
And since Joho has admitted that he's proud of his D minus,
yes,
and he didn't do that before, I think Kenyans would be interested to know, because now we cannot say that this is politics. This is a big politician who is very proud of himself, who is very rude. So we need to know him a little more so that we know where his pride came from. He says he was brought up from a very poor family, but now he's extremely rich, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's why his accounts were closed. Now that his D minus has been fouled, and the criminal investigation is doing its work, he should not cry foul. Let the CID do its work. LIDA should not interfere with us of some of these things, because if this man was a Jubilee person, LIDA would not talk. LIDA tries to protect criminals in his yard. So let us investigate this soberly and see if this guy is wrong, then he's a criminal. If he's a criminal, the law should take its own course, because these are the kind of people who steal or who buy degrees, because his issue of academics has been an issue. But all the time, instead of going through normal ways of attaining his degrees, he beats his chest. So can we investigate so that the truth comes out?
All right, can we investigate so that the truth comes out, Professor? We have politicians, of course, and have been also approaching maybe even private universities. They want degrees in 2 weeks. Have you maybe had such an experience or elsewhere?
Debarl, KCSE University, where I'm in charge, committed itself to providing capacity training for all counties in Kenya. And today I'm proud to say over 55%, based on my count, of all the MCAs have gone through KCSE training. I was called at one of the city council, and I was asked by a mayor that, Prof, can you get us this diploma in 2 weeks? And my answer was very simple. I say, if you need diploma in 2 weeks, I know exactly where you can go. You can go to River Road and get that. But if you need a skill for a lifetime, then come to KCSE. But you must be ready and be clear that you are going to go through rigorous academic training before I sign any diploma for you. So I can tell you, I'm proud to say that there are people who started with certificate, then they got into diploma, then they got into degree program. And this past year, we graduated our first degree of those people who never had any opportunity in their life to go to school. Because what we had here in Kenya was called Commonwealth model, which only take the top people, Bs, top Bs and As. And therefore, majority of people in Kenya never had the opportunity to go to school. But I come from a system in the United States where 50% of all the people working in America have gone through community colleges. Some of them had hardly, barely a D, but they made themselves up and went out and become CEO of major company. Karima, for instance, Councillor Karima in Nairobi, a billionaire who died, didn't have any degree at all, didn't know how to add 2 plus 2 at the beginning. He's self-educated, but at the end, he died without degree. But he could have. These are the kind of people who could have applied himself and get any degree they want. I can cite example after example of those kind of people who are in our system. The only thing, we must clean the clock. There's no shortcut to education, and we cannot pretend that somebody can bring a lot of money and buy their degree and pretend to be in Kenya having a BA or a master or, for God's sake, a PhD. That cannot happen.
Okay, Captain Wanderi.
Yeah, so finally, let me say this on this matter, Debarl, that unfortunately there was a court case in 2012 involving the governor candidate for Kajiado County,
yes,
Mr. Ole Kores, who had studied a degree somewhere in a country called Costa Rica. And it was actually found out that the Commission for Higher Education in Kenya, as well as the relevant bodies in that country, had not approved that course. We also had a debacle of the former MP for Starehe, Bishop Margaret Wajiro,
yes,
whose party could not even approve her candidature because of the lack of the relevant academic papers.
And she's still running for,
yes,
for governorship. She graduated finally?
She graduated from one of the universities locally. I think, yeah, I think the doctorate, I think those are conferred on theology and all manner of things. There are many people with that. However, when it comes to what we call the requirement, the basic requirement for a governor, whether there is you have a degree that is approved by the Commission for Higher Education and that the relevant reciprocating body in the country where you claim to have studied is legitimate, that is an issue that Governor Joho now has to grapple with. And not only him. Let us not just focus on Joho. And that is where we go wrong, because if we focus on Joho alone, then it becomes political, as Dr. Mustafa says. But let us focus on all these people who claim to be vying for public office,
yes,
in terms of qualifications, under Chapter 6 and the Leadership and Integrity Act. And it is high time, because I saw the so-called 10 commissions in this country, led by IEBC, Commission for Higher Education, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and all these other investigative commissions have ganged up. It is the first time they must tell us that this person does not qualify to hold public office. And that way, we can then believe that these so-called independent commissions are not on a free ride, earning free money in Kenya, because we cannot have rogues and people who are not accountable and people who do not have integrity as leaders in this country and say we'll move forward.
Right. The way we are teaching in these universities is very funny. Some people used to get their degree, the school-based program used to take 2 years for someone to get a degree. A teacher, April, August, December, for several months. Now, the Commission for Higher Education has said it will take 8 good years to get a degree. So within the 8 years, you will have done all the courses properly. It is not a matter of passing through courses and doing funny exams and then passing. Then you say you have a degree. When you see the degree holder, he looks as rare as someone who has no degree because of the way we rush the degrees. So I think these things should be formalized. We have seen a lot of mischief in the universities with people getting degrees. I am not worried about Dr. Margaret Wajiro's degree, because some of those theological degrees, they come and look at the way you preach in church and the way you move the people. Then if you are a very good mover, you are conferred the degree of moving people. So, and you become a doctor. So,
No, we don't agree with that.
those are theological degrees.
No.
Theological degrees.
We have, no. I don't agree with you.
Look at the many people.
We know very well-able, credible.
Doctor.
No. Let's not mention names, but we know very credible, men of God who they've gone through the system and they've earned degrees. Even some of them forfeiting very lucrative careers. Being an architect somewhere, or lawyers, or biochemists somewhere.
In the formal universities.
In the formal universities, yes. So we cannot really say that all these degrees that they've been conferred to the men of a cloth, they've not gone through the rigors of a system. That one we startly deny. Categorically.
It's the honorary degrees that
the honorary degrees,
honorary doctorates that are really especially misused here in the country. We have, Dr. Wanjiro, doctor. There are so many doctors going around in Kenya, and if you really look at the regulations governing or guiding the use of honorary doctorates, you must only use that in the university and for the purposes for which that particular honorary doctorate is given to you. We've had in this country so many doctors, including so many politicians. Some have gotten their honorary doctorates in River Road here, and they are busy calling themselves Dr. This, Dr. Das. And that is, well, it's an insult. It's an insult to the academia and the universities that either accorded them those honorary degrees, or some of those which are actually fake. There are many Westerners who have been coming here parading honorary doctorates and actually selling those honorary doctorates. And these are, well, I think we should ask people like Professor Midamba should come to this country's help with the KCSE universities and others to really look at some of these issues. There's a lot of Debarl, if we are going to do an audit today, in terms of the educational capability of our political leaders, then we are going to be shocked.
We're going to be shocked. I think even 5 years back, I had an opportunity of interviewing one of his herbal doctors, so to speak, and he calls himself a doctor. And I'd really tried to do a research on him to find his doctorate, and I couldn't really figure out where he's actually gone to school to learn this, herbalist or being a herbal expert. So I asked him, when are you truly a doctor, going through the rigors of a system? Then he said, no. People have been calling me a doctor. So, of course, I have to put, before my name the word doctor, because that's how people refer to me, right? And I think that is really appalling, because we can see a lot of his advertisement. They're all over the media, awash, calling himself a doctor, yet he's not really even learnt this. I think it's just maybe a gift or something like that. We don't really deny there's a place of gift that you can be really gifted, but truly when you actually dupe the public that you're a doctor and you're not, that is really appalling.
Debarl, we must not play with the education system, because it is education system and which is the common denominator for development of any country.
Yes.
India went through a time where they cleaned up the clock on their entire university system. Some of Kenyans who went to India graduate from universities that are not really universities, and then they return here. And India cleaned the system, so now India has moved to the world standard in terms of education. The person who has an executive MBA cannot go straight and do a PhD. That is a terminal degree, and so there is evidence that some of those people have left executive MBA and started PhD with that degree. Nobody can call himself a doctor because you are honorary doctor. That's unacceptable. Getting a PhD, or say doctor of divinity, or say doctor of letters is not an easy step for anyone to walk in. And therefore, Kenyans must not allow that to happen in order to clog and cloudy our education system. That is the effort we are taking right now.
All right. And of course, truly, you can say from the intellectual vigor of this some particular men of God, or maybe some politicians as well, you can find sometimes it's very vapid. If you compare, you really wonder, is this somebody who's really gone through the system, and this is how we can think or how we can articulate issues regarding this particular maybe area of expertise that he is in or she's in as well. But there is also, as before we take a short break, a question from or some highlight from I think a friend of mine was just texted me. He says the rules that could have barred Joho only came into force in 2014. Those issues of D minors have to go to certificates. Let me just repeat that. Those issues of D minors having to go to certificate only apply after 2014, not before. Is that the case?
Unfortunately, he's wrong.
He's wrong.
You see, the issue with the Joho is not just about the rules as to whether he has to go. Remember, he graduated recently from Gretzer University. That is after 2014. So definitely that will apply. That in effect would mean that the degree then conferred upon him by that university is therefore, it is very easy to declare it null and void. But over and above that, the focus here should not even be about the rules of academia, because we are all agreed that somebody can actually rise through their efforts, as Professor has said, and other countries allow it for somebody to upgrade their education. That is all normal. What we are concerned here for Governor Joho is the flip-flop and the issue of leadership and integrity. The fact that he has in the first place denied in 2016 that he did not score a D- and actually give a public statement through his spokesman, which was covered widely by the media. Then he has again publicly admitted that he actually scored a D-. So then that certificate he uttered to the University of Nairobi in 2009 would then only qualify to be on the face of fate. It is materially false. I don't want to call it forgery, because forgery is a question of law. But the document uttered by him then is materially false in a particular way. And therefore that becomes the subject of criminal investigations. And that's where we should focus on. And not only on Governor Joho. We have many characters who have degrees, who have acquired degrees. We have only seen, I don't want to mention names, we have only seen their graduation pictures and gowns. But we have not seen a situation where they have attended university classes, attended the minimum required hours required by university statutes.
But with the advent of digital, of course,
even
online,
digital,
online,
even digital
education, it's not really a must to be in a mortar and a brick for you to really earn that particular degree.
But even digital, there is a requirement that you sit for certain cuts. I am a student on digital in the University of South Africa, and they are very strict. In fact, they sometimes refuse to register you until you receipt a cut, even if you had passed it, because you did not do something else. And what the worry should be, in fact, is what Professor is saying, that if Kenyan universities were to be rated versus other universities around the world, you realize that only 5 of Kenyan universities out of almost 60 appeared in the top 100 in Africa. In Africa, not even in the world. In the world, our first university was appearing almost numbers 1,000, okay, which is the University of Nairobi. So we should be very worried about that.
We should be very worried, Prof. We had this discussion last week about why and what metrics are we using actually to benchmark our universities against the world as well. If you are 1,000 in the world,
yes,
that is really, really appalling, isn't it?